The name of my talk is How to Beat Inner Procrastinator, and the subtitle, How to Find More Intrinsic Motivation in the 21st Century. Since procrastination is my life topic, and since procrastination is getting worse and worse, this is truly the core of my work, and I'm very happy to give you some practical tips on how to be more productive, better focused, and what recent science knows about our well-being, motivation, and let's say the ability to beat what is called procrastination. And well, we live in an era that is made for procrastination. And it seems that all the data shows that it's getting worse and worse, especially with social media. And because that we are usually overwhelmed at work, we have more tasks usually than we have time dedicated for those tasks. And I have some bad news. Like addiction on social media is connected with what is called a cheap dopamine. Cheap dopamine is dopamine that is without any huge effort. And all those algorithms are getting better and better in terms of getting us hooked on the content that they are serving us. So that's why procrastination is a key enemy of focus and well-being of for people living in 21st century. So cheap dopamine is a crucial term. And another interesting scientific study was made with TikTok, and the outcome was that TikTok algorithm is as addictive as the strongest substances like crack cocaine. So this is truly something that is affecting not just our lives, but lives of our kids. And it's a huge topic in the US recently because they are trying to ban TikTok, and this is truly like also very important discussion in EU, like what we can do about those algorithms, because they are crazy addictive. So that was the intro, and let me introduce myself a little bit more into the detail. So I wrote a book that is called The End of Procrastination, and the book has been published 10 years ago. Now the book has more than 20 translations, I think 24 recently, and the book has been published in Japanese, Korean, Chinese, now recently Vietnamese. And in the Czech Republic, the book is #1 bestseller with more than 500,000 copies sold. So luckily, procrastination is getting worse. So for me, good news. And I will give you some main tips from the book and some, let's say, outcomes of the newest studies in this field of procrastination and focus and motivation. Now, recently, I live in Singapore, so I divide my time 50%. I live in Prague, 50% in Singapore. And Singapore is a highly interesting place to live because they have one of the best educational systems. In Singapore, there is one of top 10 universities globally. And it seems that the local government is investing a lot of money in terms of AI and how to rebuild and how to prepare for the huge trend of AI. So for me, it's very interesting to have this unique experience to live between Prague and Singapore. So, and now let's dive into this topic of procrastination. So I truly love this quote that is attributed to Albert Einstein, and it follows like this: if you can't explain it simply, well, you don't understand it well enough. So simplicity is a core value for me, and I'm trying to summarize all the scientific studies, all those scientific papers, and simplify them into few simple diagrams or pictures that can help you to understand the core of those foundings. So let me describe procrastination visually. We usually have tasks to do. We have time dedicated for those tasks. And how a typical procrastinator tackles this problem? Well, often like this. So we are usually postponing our tasks to the very last moment. And sometimes we feel that under pressure, we are better, right? So we feel that our performance goes up. But that's not the truth, because there is a huge body of scientific discoveries that under pressure, we have higher level of stress hormone cortisol. And what stress does to our brain is that basically stress is switching off those higher centers of the brain. So we are less focused under stress, we are less creative, and our performance actually goes down. So working under pressure is not the best thing for our long-term productivity. So there are much better strategies. And I want to give you some tips on how to not just accomplish more, but how to be less stressed during the process. So, and let me discuss or open this crucial question, like, why do we procrastinate so much in 21st century? Well, there are many reasons, but one of the main reasons is that we live in a crazy complex world, and the complexity grows almost exponentially. So, and our brain is not ready for that. Our brain has evolved in a completely different world. Like, we lived somewhere in caves. We had very, very simple lives, but now it's growing exponentially. And our ancestors, they thought that the more choices we have, the better the situation is. So the Western world is based on this ideal of having a lot of choices. But there is a backfire, and the backfire is beautifully described in this picture. And this phenomenon is called decision paralysis. Like, the more choices we have, the more difficult it's to choose at all. So, and we are experiencing this kind of paralysis in all domains of our life. So when we are planning our tasks, we are overwhelmed. When we are checking our email folder, we are overwhelmed. And when we do shopping, come on, like, we are standing in front of those 50 same ketchups, and we are not happy that we are choose out of 50, but we feel a little anxious that we are unable to choose a ketchup. So the complexity of the recent world is going up, and that means that also our paralysis is getting worse. So, and what is the solution? So I guess that everyone wants to live a fulfilled life. We want to prolong our life, not just in terms of longevity, but in terms of what is called health span. Health span means the length of the healthy part of the life. We want to do something meaningful. We want to have meaningful relationships and so on. But on this path towards this fulfilled life, there is a hole. There's a hole of procrastination, and a lot of our potential, a lot of our time, a lot of our energy is wasted. And it's wasted forever, because every minute that is wasted, well, it's lost. And now we are wasting our time, not just on social media, but sometimes doing some meaningless activities, or unable to fall asleep because our brain is doing what is called overthinking. So we are often lost in our own thoughts. And it's truly, truly crucial to know how to stay focused on what is important, how to set priorities right, and how to get rid of all the noise around. So this is my work. I'm helping people to overcome their procrastination, and at the end to live a slightly more fulfilled life. So, and what is the key? Well, I truly love Japanese culture. I spent over half a year of my life in Japan. So that's why I chose Singapore, because it's truly similar. So you have very delicious food here, you have very kind people, and there are some very, very important sayings in Japanese culture that are very useful for recent world. So, and one of those sayings follows like this: vision without action is a dream, and action without vision is a nightmare. What it means? Well, this Japanese proverb beautifully summarizes two main problems we usually have. The first part of the proverb, vision without action. Well, we usually know what we need to change in our life. Everyone wants to exercise more. Everyone wants to eat a little bit healthier. Everyone knows that we should like focus on sleep and healthy diet or whatever. But like we are setting those New Year's resolution. The problem is that then we lack the action. So vision without action is a dream. But what is even worse, according to scientific data, action without vision can be a nightmare. Like if we lack purpose, especially purpose at work. Lacking purpose at work is one of the main sources of the growth of depression in Western world. So action without vision, when we are doing something and we don't feel any meaning, or we don't feel that we are doing something valuable, then we can have much deeper problem. So if you want to have a fulfilled life, or if you want to conquer your procrastination, you need those two ingredients. You need a strong vision, like personal vision, knowing what to do in your life, both personal and your work life, and then, well, have the action. So focus on some positive habits, being able to sometimes overcome our comfort zone, to do something new, because the brain is trained in this way. Like whenever we overcome ourselves, there is a new connection in our brain, and the dopamine is released. And this is not a cheap dopamine, this is like expensive dopamine. So whenever we do something new, the brain rewires. And the outcome of all of this, like if you live every day meaningfully and to the fullest with vision and action, then we are much more fulfilled. So maybe you are asking, like, what is the source of long life satisfaction? What is common in those people that are highly satisfied? They are living very healthy, long lives. And the outcome of the study is that both the main key of longevity and prolonging the health span and successful and happy life is about having strong sense of purpose. So purpose is much more important, according to those studies, compared to money or social status and whatever else. So now let's dive into the topic of vision. So how to find lifelong vision, how to uncover our life purpose. Well, the first step is to realize that our time is both limited and finite. That's the truth of life. And sometimes it's a little bit scary. So we are unable to face this problem directly. And that's why we often procrastinate, because we don't consider that the time is that valuable. And sometimes we realize that when it's too late. So me personally, I experienced few times in my life the situation that is called near-death experience. And I have a story that happened in year 2015. I was very lucky because I had a flight from Amsterdam to Prague, and the flight was with Czech Airlines. And after the takeoff, after, let's say, 15 minutes, our right engine blew up. Truly, the right engine blew up. There was fire. And luckily, I sit next to the window, and the guy behind me, he was like, "Oh man, look at the fire." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And after a few minutes, the pilot told us, "Well, you probably realized that we have a state of emergency." So we started in Amsterdam, and somewhere on the border with Germany, the engine blew up. And we had to perform what is called the emergency landing. So I experienced the situation with the brace position, the thing that at the beginning of every flight that they are describing, and you never listen. So I experienced it in person. And those 15 minutes until we landed were like longest 15 minutes in my life. Even though I knew that airplanes can fly only with one engine, still it was very scary. But the moment that we landed was one of the best moments in my life. Like a lot of people were crying, we were hugging each other, and even pilot went out of his cabin and he shook his hand with everyone on board. And still, I have a goosebumps when I'm describing this this story from my life, because it was the moment that I realized like what is truly important in life. Because sometimes we are forgetting about what is important. So according to my experience, I think that the main and the most valuable resource that we have is not money, but the most valuable resource is our time, and we should invest our time wisely. So since then, I'm not watching my Netflix that much, and I'm not wasting my time on social media that much, because I truly think that we should be grateful not just for time that we have, but for life itself. And what is true for all of us is that we were born in one moment, and the destiny that we share, well, the life will end somewhere in the future. We never know when, but what we can influence is time that we have. And the crucial, or maybe the most important question of life is, what is our purpose? And according to the data, according to recent science, the stronger the sense of purpose is, the more we have what is called intrinsic motivation, the less depressed we are. We live healthier and longer lives if we have a strong sense of purpose. So let me sum up this main idea. There are two most important days in our lives: the day we are born, luckily, and the day we discover why. So the question of why seems to be highly crucial, and especially in this rapidly changing world. So it's difficult to predict how the world will look like in 5, 10 years from now, but I'm 100% sure that purpose will be even more important in the upcoming AI era. So, and good news, we have some parts of the brain that are activated when we do something meaningful, not for ourselves, but for others. So it seems like not being selfish sometimes and being selfless to do those little acts of kindness are connected both with longevity and life satisfaction. So let me sum up. If you want to live a long, happy life, do not chase just money, but chase your purpose. And obviously, the huge portion of purpose in life is purpose at work. We spend 1/3 of our life at work, so it's highly important, like, what is our connection to our work that we do on a daily basis. And the data, again, are a little bit scary. I used to live in the US. I lived in Lower Manhattan, 3 blocks from Wall Street. And even though Wall Street is consists of the most successful people of our era, like you have like graduates from Stanford, guys and girls with PhDs from Harvard, but the problem of Wall Street is that you have the highest level intake of antidepressants there. And what is the story behind? So they did a few studies there, and the outcome was lack of purpose. So you can have almost endless money. You can be highly successful. You can have the best degrees from the best universities, but still, when you lack purpose, you can be depressed. So there is a huge body of evidence that lacking purpose, especially at work, can increase the risk of depression in the long term. And this is a very important study behind that. So the outcome of this study was that 86% of companies, they have what is called stated purpose. They have their mission statements, they have their values. They usually put all those claims on walls in their offices, but only 24% employees actually feel purpose at work. So that is what is called activated purpose. So there is a huge gap between those sentences on walls and the reality of everyday life of employees. So this is the main problem, and this is the source of procrastination, because when you lack purpose, definitely you are demotivated, you have high level of stress, and as I described, stress causes like lower productivity, lower focus, lower creativity, and many other negative effects on our health, for example. So the purpose gap means that almost every company talks about purpose, but only a few percent of employees actually feel something at work. So the solution is truly to focus on building purpose and building what is called purpose-driven culture. And with AI, my background is computer science. And now most of my keynotes are about artificial intelligence, because I'm working on a new book about how to find purpose both in life and at work during or in the era of AI. So let me stop by and discuss the future with AI. So now, well, like if you have an average employee, or if you have some high achiever, if you have someone who's like very productive, the difference is not that huge. Like it can be like tens of percent. But with AI, like those differences will, or those scissors will open much wider. So if you will be able to use AI, and if you will use AI for those repetitive tasks, well, AI skills will be the most important skills of 21st century. So you won't be just 10% more productive, but you could be like 300, 400% more productive. And those people with what is called fixed mindset that won't be able to learn new things, won't be able to like overcome their comfort zones and try new technologies, they will have serious problems. So let me summarize this. One of the most important questions for the AI era is like, what are your unique strengths, your unique qualities, and how you can use them to do something meaningful for others, how to build better products, how to build better company culture, how to build better relationships. So those people skills, communication, ability to prioritize, ability to communicate, ability to present, will be much more important than ever. So, and I truly love one Japanese concept. This concept is called ikigai. It's from the island of Okinawa. Okinawa is a very famous place because they have the longest average lifespan around the globe. Their average lifespan is 88 years. In Central Europe, we have 79. So 9 years difference, but not 9 years difference of unhealthy life. No, they have like longer the health span. So, and they made 2 long-term studies in Okinawa, and they were trying to find why. What is the longevity there? Is it a healthy diet? Well, they eat a lot of sushi, but that's not the case, or that's not the only solution of longevity, or it's not the only source of longevity. But they uncovered the main source of longevity is what in Okinawa they called ikigai. And what it means? Well, ikigai can be described as a combination of four domains. First part of ikigai are your strengths. So doing things that you are good at. So focusing on strengths is much more important than to improving your weaknesses. So we should like think about our educational system, because especially in Central Europe, like we are constantly focusing on mistakes. We are giving kids the feedback that they made mistake there, and we are not focusing on strengths. So I think that in the upcoming AI era, focusing on strengths, especially with kids, will be the solution of many other problems. The second part of ikigai is focusing on what is called state of flow. If you love the process, if you enjoy daily activities, you can accomplish more. And the state of flow is defined by the situation or by the moment that time stops for you and you are in the present moment. And the state of flow, when you do things that you truly enjoy doing, it's just the exact opposite of procrastination. So more flow, less procrastination. And the third part of ikigai is probably the most important one, and that's the part about purpose. Doing things that the world needs, like doing things for others, doing things that are meaningful. Those acts of kindness, those sometimes are even small things, like to smile, to help a stranger, or to smile at the shop assistant, and so on. So purpose is a crucial part of ikigai. And the last part, of course, money, like doing things that you can get paid for. And if you find a combination of those 4 domains, well, you then are much more fulfilled. So the source of long life motivation, intrinsic motivation, lies in this simple diagram from Japan. And good news, it's truly backed by long studies, not just in Japan, but even in Europe or the US. So, and I should like summarize this into, let's say, updated or upgraded model. So you should start with your strengths, then ask like how you can use your strengths to do something meaningful. And when you use your strengths for doing something meaningful, then you get into the state of flow. So you are more focused, you enjoy the process. Of course, like you should get rid of all those distractions. So you should switch off your notifications and so on. So they call this like deep work. Like if you are in a state of flow and when you are in this present moment and when you are able to get rid of all those distractions, you deliver more results. And not just results in terms of money, but you can be proud of the things that you are able to accomplish. So you can finish a new book, or you can truly build a meaningful new product, or you can truly go to the bed and you can feel a pride, or you can feel a sense of accomplishment. So that was the first practical tool. It's called Ikigai. It's from Japan. And it beautifully summarizes what recent science truly knows about life satisfaction or longevity. So a lot of people, they have this model in their heads. They think that first results and then happiness. Yeah, if I finish my university, then I will be happy. If I accomplish that project, I will be happy. If I don't know, run this marathon, I will be happy. But the science and the huge meta-analysis, they took a lot of research in the field of happiness, and they made a huge meta-analysis. And the outcome of this meta-analysis was that it's just the exact opposite. When you enjoy the process, when you love what you are doing, when you are in a state of flow, you deliver more results. So the key for procrastination is to be in a state of flow. So procrastination is not a time management issue. It's more emotional management issue. It's about strengths. It's about purpose, rather than to have a better system of planning your to-do lists. And there is a beautiful summary from Albert Schweitzer, who got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1952. Schweitzer said something like this: success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you're in a state of flow, you will be successful. So the old saying that the path is the destination is truly to the point. Because if you enjoy the process, if you love the process, then you deliver much more results, but as a secondary outcome. So that was the first practical tip. Focus on the process rather than the destination, and build your Ikigai in the long term, especially in the era of AI. And the second part, well, the action, like how to be better in terms of our habits, how to be better in terms of sometimes overcoming our comfort zone, how to be better in terms of like changing things that matter for us. So, well, there is a part of our brain that is called prefrontal cortex. And this is the part of the brain that is about willpower. And good news, you can train your brain in the long term. So we have studies on identical twins that are completely same in terms of genes. And one of those twins can be a huge procrastinator, and the second can be highly productive, highly focused. So good news, it's not about genes. We can build prefrontal cortex in the long term. So our brain has the capacity of neuroplasticity. So this is unstimulated brain, and this is stimulated brain. So if you do 20 push-ups daily, well, your muscles are growing. We know that. But if I do a brain scan, if I do what is called fMRI to you, you will see that not just your muscles are growing, but your prefrontal cortex is growing in the long term too. So if you want to change your life, you need to rewire your brain. And good news, this is possible, and it's not that dependent on your age. You can train your brain, like you should train your brain whatever your age is, because there is study that with elderly, and that if they were passive, they have 50% higher risk of Alzheimer's disease. Because whenever you stop to train your brain, it has higher chance of degeneration. So we should train the brain in a truly long term and have it as a like life habit of overcoming ourselves, learning things. So the ability to learn new things will be the superpower of 21st century. That's what my friend, a top professor of neuroscience, Mr. Stuchlik, said during our last interview for my podcast, that ability to learn new things will be the superpower of 21st century. And how to do that? Well, you cannot change your brain from one day to another. You need some gradual changes in the long term. And again, Japanese, and especially Japanese, all Japanese samurais, that they already knew that. They had a word that was called kaizen. Kaizen means little changes, great results. So if you want to change yourself, and if you want to start running, and if you tell yourself, well, starting tomorrow, I will go and I will run 10 kilometers. Well, there is high chance that you will fail because 10 kilometers is a huge, huge step. And probably you will procrastinate. Or even though you go for a run, you can undermine your productivity, or you can undermine your motivation, because from one day to another, from 0 to 10K, it's almost impossible. But if you want truly to build a long-term habit, you should focus on small steps. So tell yourself, okay, let's start with 500 meters, or let's start with 10 minutes on a treadmill in a gym, or just wear some sports suit and go out and go back again. Like you can always find some small steps, because we are unable to do big changes in life. Why? Because you cannot rewire the brain from one day to another. That's why we usually fail, and the failure undermine our self-esteem, and we can get to the situation that is called learned helplessness. We can truly undermine ourselves with the failure. But if you do a small step, if you go and run those 10 minutes on a treadmill at the gym, well, there's a much higher chance that you will be successful. And if you build the habit, if you repeat the small amount gradually, it's getting easier and easier, and slowly you will get into the state of flow. And when you are in the state of flow, then you can slowly increase the amount of the activity, and at the end you are able to finish even those big tasks, big goals. Like you can run the marathon, but you should start with small steps. Small steps are crucial. According to all those big scientific studies about willpower, and good news in science, they call this micro habits. Start small and be completely okay with that, but stick with that and build a habit, repeat, and then gradually increase the amount of the activity. So this is the painless solution. Good news. Like everyone can finish whatever with this strategy. So when I was writing the book, at the beginning, I told myself, okay, write a first chapter. And to write a first chapter was huge. So I was procrastinating, writing a book about procrastination. And guys, it was twice painful. But when I told myself, okay, maybe the whole chapter is a huge amount, so I should start with writing 1 or 2 paragraphs a day. And to write 1 or 2 paragraphs, it's completely fine. It's completely easy. So I started with those 1 or 2 paragraphs, and then slowly I built a habit of writing, and I finished the book. And since I finished the book, well, I probably know something about procrastination. So let me sum up with a practical tool. This tool is called everyday heroism. It's about those little acts of courage, because sometimes our alarm clock rings in the morning, and what we do is that we postpone and postpone and postpone. Like a lot of people, they postpone their alarm clock in the morning. And the best thing to start a day is with the little courage to stand up with the first alarm clock, or to do a few push-ups during the morning, or to start a day with colder shower. Start with the hot one, and at the end, put it a little bit colder, and the next day a little bit colder. So if you, let's say, boost your morning, then you will be much more productive during the day, because you start the day as a little hero. And this concept is from this brilliant guy. His name is Professor Philip Zimbardo. Professor Philip Zimbardo was a professor at Stanford University for decades, and he's famous because he conducted the famous Stanford prison experiment. In the 60s, he took a bunch of average people. He tested them and he chose the most average out of them. And he divided them into two groups. One, the first group, was put in a role of prison guards, and the second group was put in a role of inmates, prisoners. And the police came during the weekend, they arrested those prisoners, and they put them in a prison that was a cellar of the University, Stanford. And probably you know what happened, because this was very famous. It was filmed many times later. There are many controversies around, but the outcome of the study was that those average people, if they are put in a role of prison guards, slowly, gradually, they start to do very nasty things to those others, to people in the different or in the role of those inmates. And Zimbardo then spent like almost 30, 40 years at Stanford discovering why some people turn evil. And I met Zimbardo 3 times in my life. Those 3 meetings were the most important meetings of my life. So that's me 10 years ago. And in one of Zimbardo's books, there is a beautiful quote: the core of your life can be reduced to 2 types of actions, those taken and those not taken. And I asked Zimbardo back then, like, hey, professor, what is your secret for fighting procrastination? So you are highly successful, so you wrote many books, so what is your secret for fighting procrastination? And Zimbardo did something strange back then. He took my black marker and he put a huge black dot on his forehead. And I was like kind of surprised. I was like thinking like, well, maybe Mr. Professor, psychologist. Nope. He started to describe something truly profound to me. And now I want to share the idea with you. He told me that if you go shopping with the black dot on your forehead, or if you go by bus somewhere, you slowly started used to the fact that you are different. You then build gradually the ability to overcome what is called the social comfort zone. And Zimbardo described me that we have 2 kinds of comfort zone. First, comfort zone is a physical one. Physical comfort zone is our warm bed in the morning, or the situation that we are sitting in our car. And then we have social comfort zone. It means that we are part of the crowd, part of the herd. And around the comfort zone, there is a discomfort zone. It's the situation when we stop the alarm clock in the morning and we get up from the bed. It's the situation when we stop our car by the accident and we call police or emergency or try to help. It's the situation when we stand up for our values when everyone else is silent. And this is a crucial skill, because what Zimbardo found was that evil is not inborn. The evil is the inability to act right in the right moment. So basically, the outcome of all those Zimbardo studies and studies of other fellow psychologists was that heroism is the ability to step outside of our comfort zones, both physical one and social ones. And of course, outside of our comfort zone, there is the expensive dopamine. Like whenever we overcome ourselves, we experience positive emotions. So brain works in this way. So whenever we had courage and we are able to act in the right moment, whenever we stopped and helped the stranger, those are the most intense positive moments of our life. So let me sum up with the quote from Gandhi. The overcoming fear is the first step to success. So of course, at the beginning, there is the unpleasant emotion, like we are postponing, we are procrastinating because of those negative emotions. But sometimes you have to go straight and overcome yourself. And whenever you do that, you learn the ability of overcoming yourself even for the future. And whenever you step outside of the crowd, others follow. So this is not just a source of good productivity or fighting procrastination. This has a very profound impact on the whole society. So this is picture from Germany from 30s. And you can see that this guy is not following the crowd. Well, sometimes it's very important to be this guy, to have a courage to say no, to have a courage to act according to our values. And I think that we live in an amazing world. Like, we live in the world that is very abundant. Like the average lifespan has prolonged twice in the last 100 years, and we live in a freedom, most of us. But the problem is that we also have like problems around us, and I think that we will be able to tackle all those problems with this skill of being a little hero, with the skill of doing those small acts of kindness, or to act in the right moment, and maybe to stop by next to an accident and to save someone's life. And Japanese samurais, they again had a solution for that. They have the rule of 3 heartbeats. If you are in a situation that you can act, do it in 3 heartbeats. 3, 2, 1, and then tell yourself, heroes, act, and then act. And whenever you act, this is the true moment of what psychology calls moral integrity. So let me sum up with this probably most important quote from Edmund Burke. And it's so recent, especially in Slovakia or Czech Republic, or maybe in the US too, or everywhere in Europe. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So even Albert Einstein said that the world won't be destroyed by evil people, but by those good that are unable to act. So be a little hero, have the courage to act according to your values. And I truly believe that if you combine those 2 domains together, Ikigai and Kaizen, if you are able to sometimes overcome yourself, this is the source of long life positive leadership, even for your kids, even for your, let's say, to build a good company culture, or to truly build a good society. So if you change your thinking, if you are able to uncover your own values, you can then inspire others, you can inspire groups that you are a part of, and then we can probably, maybe for the future, we can maybe improve the whole society. So I'm very optimistic in terms of the future, but we have to do something for that. So it's about us. Like everyone can be a little hero according to Zimbardo studies, and the most important part is to act in the right moment. So 3, 2, 1, and go. So let me sum up. I started with this beautiful picture because I took this picture when I was in Japan, and my goal was to climb Mount Fuji. So the next day I did that. So I went and I climbed Mount Fuji. It took me like 9 hours and a half. And it was one of those most intense days of my life. But when I reached the top, or when I reached the summit, well, it was truly the very expensive dopamine. And I use Mount Fuji as a symbol. So you should have your visions. Well, my vision was to climb Mount Fuji, but then you truly need to do the action, like to have the courage to truly act. And vision plus action combined together, well, this is the best way to fight procrastination, and this is the best way to have a fulfilled life. So now you know that you have 2 practical tools. For the vision part, you have Ikigai, the Japanese concept from Okinawa, that is evidence-based solution for longevity. And you have the tool from Zimbardo, professor from Stanford, and it's about courage to act. It's about everyday heroism. And you can build this ability in the long term. So whenever you overcome yourself, you gradually build the overall ability to act in the right moment.